Tonight, we celebrate the single most important event of the 20th century. Russia's working class, headed by the revolutionary communists of the Bolshevik Party, and its leader Vladimir Lenin, freed 1/6 of the world's surface from capitalism. The world was changed forever. The rulers were now the ruled. All over the world, exploiters trembled. In 1848, the Communist Manifesto of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels described why workers were oppressed and told them what to do about it. The manifesto declared that in making a revolution, workers had only their chains to lose. 70 years later, the Russian Revolution proved that the chains of oppression could be ripped off completely. The Communist Party was the crucial factor. Its leader, Vladimir Lenin, wanted to be totally committed to revolution, no compromise. Under its leadership, the workers single-mindedly pursued the goal of state power and the dictatorship of the proletariat. Some so-called leftists advised against revolution. They claimed that the capitalist system could be reformed so it could better serve the workers. Lenin and the Bolsheviks would have none of this. They had confidence in the workers. The communists and workers knew from experience that voting would never result in a real change of the social order. The world's capitalists launched a counteroffensive. What was left of the Russian ruling class joined hundreds of thousands of foreign troops from 14 countries, including the United States, which poured into Russia to try, in Winston Churchill's words, to, quote, strangle Bolshevism in the cradle. The fight against this counter-revolution took far longer than the seizure of power. Supported by the vast majority of workers and peasants, the fledgling Red Army triumphed. Foreign soldiers, most of the workers too, did not fight well against them. Here are a few of the reasons why the Bolsheviks, the Soviet communists, succeeded. The Russian bourgeoisie was weak and poorly organized. The capitalists had only gained power in February 1917. Russian workers saw no essential differences between the Tsar and the capitalists. The Russian working class had been steeled in revolutionary battle. Insurrections had occurred in 1905 and in February 1917, involving many workers in battle, often under Bolshevik leadership. Significant portions of the working class and peasantry were won to the key concept of revolutionary violence, without which no revolution can succeed. By November 1917, the Bolsheviks were entrenched in key areas in major cities, in industry, communications, the army, and the navy. The Bolsheviks understood that they could turn imperialist war into civil war. The attention of the Russian ruling classes was focused on the European battleground, leaving their internal flank wide open to attack. The Bolsheviks had built a worker-peasant alliance, telling the peasants to take all the land from the landowners. This drew all poor peasants and agricultural workers to revolutionary leadership. After 1928, the Soviet system of production was for use, not for profit. In the 1930s, when the entire capitalist world sank into depression, the Soviet Union was building a new society without unemployment and hunger. The Soviet Union fought against racism and sexism. The battle against racism was particularly significant. Paul Robeson said about his trips to the Soviet Union, "He felt like a human being for the first time since I grew up." In 1941, the capitalists again tried to destroy the revolution. Hitler, using all of Europe's resources and the largest military machine ever assembled, invaded the Soviet Union. Hitler's prediction of capturing Moscow in six weeks went up in smoke. All this was accomplished under the leadership of Joseph Stalin. No wonder he is reviled to this day by world capitalism. Now, with the partial opening of the former Soviet and Trotsky archives, we can prove that all of the allegations of crimes by Stalin related by pro-capitalist and Trotskyist pseudo-historians are false without exception. The Bolsheviks were pioneers, the first ones to try to build socialism and communism. It was inevitable that they would make many mistakes and suffer from many political weaknesses. These ultimately led to the return of capitalism in the Soviet Union. Today, no country is led by revolutionary communists, but this is a temporary historical setback. We know that every dark night has its end. Capitalist exploitation and inhumanity inevitably leads workers to fight back. The Soviet experience is a rich textbook of lessons for future revolutionaries to learn from. Today, we celebrate their incredible achievements. And it all began, comrades, it all began 100 years ago tonight. If you listen carefully, you can hear a voice coming to us from this night in 1917. Listen, it's saying, Tovarishchi, comrades, finish the job. Finish the job. Thank you.